from Craft with Jess, and today I'm going to show you how to make a simple little crochet basket that you can use around your house. You can hang it up and you can stuff things inside of them. You can use it to store anything from kitchen supplies to pencils in the office. You could hang it on a Christmas tree. What I like to do with mine is use it to tie my curtains back, actually, because I just think it's a nice little touch. So I'm going to show you the basics of making this little bitty basket, and what I'm using is t-shirt yarn. I like how it's thick and the texture is chunky and it works up fast, and it's just beautiful to see those big stitches. Okay, so let's get out your supplies, and if you want to go ahead and download the pattern, click on the link in my description. It will take you to my website where you can get the pattern so that you have this forever. But what you're going to need for materials is you're going to need some t-shirt yarn. You can get a link for that as well in the description. You can get that from Amazon or Etsy. I get my t-shirt yarn from this company in the Netherlands. It's called Hooked, and with 3 O's, and I love it because they have a huge variety. So you're going to grab some of that, and you need just the medium size, which is about 60 meters in length, or 350 grams. And that will be plenty for you to make a couple of these. And then you're going to use a hook size 10 millimeter, which is also called an N or a P in America. And then you'll need a plastic tapestry needle. This is easiest to work with thicker yarns, a stitch marker if you want, and then some scissors. So there are 3 things that we're going to be learning in particular in this pattern. Even though it's simple and a beginner's pattern, you can always level up. So we're going to learn how to do the magic circle on the base. We're going to learn how to do the knit stitch, and we're also going to learn how to do a kind of invisible join when you join the rows, so you can't really tell where you're joining. And of course, this little easy border, how to make your basket stand on a nice little like chain like that. We're going to learn all those little tiny details as we go. So go ahead and grab your yarn and let's get started. Okay, so to make a magic circle, you're basically making a slip knot. You take your yarn in your hands, you go over 2 fingers, you turn over your fingers and you make a cross, and then you grab your yarn and pull it through the center, and you have this loop, okay? But we're not gonna close the loops in our hands. We're going to stick our hook in this top loop and just adjust our tension, and then we're gonna keep this other circle open. So I'm gonna work my stitches inside this little magic loop, and I'm gonna chain 1, okay? And then I'm gonna do 6 single crochet inside here. So I'm gonna go in my loop, in, grab a loop, yarn over, go through 1. Go in, grab a loop, yarn over, go through. And I'm also kind of going over this tail at the same time. 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now I just have to pull on my string, and it closes it up. And the reason we do this magic circle is that you don't have this everlasting hole in the bottom. It's just closed. And then you're gonna slip stitch to the top of your first one. So let's see, we have the one on our hook doesn't count, of course, that's just a loop, it's not a stitch. Then we have our last one, says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 2 loops here is the first stitch. And I'm gonna slip stitch like so. And there's my magic circle. Next round, we're going to chain 1 to get to the next round. So whenever you make a circle, well, whenever you crochet anything and you have a new row, You always have to chain a certain amount to get to the height of the new row. So I'm going to chain 1 since I'm doing single crochet. And my chain 1 is going to count as my first stitch. And I'm going to do another stitch in the same area. So in the same, underneath this loop here, I'm going to do another stitch, so a single crochet. And that's basically 2. So I'm just going to put a little stitch marker to help us. And now we're going to do 2 single crochet in each stitch around. So you're going to be going into underneath both loops. In different patterns, you can choose to go under the front loop or the back loop, but if the pattern doesn't say front or back, then the assumption is you're going under both, because that's how you traditionally go into stitches, is through both loops. 2 and 1, and the next one I'm going to do 2. In the next one I'm going to do 2. And all the way around. So now we have 12 stitches. And if you're not sure, counting can be hard, especially for beginner crocheters. I always tell people to count backwards instead of from the beginning. Unless you use a stitch marker, it's easier. But you know this is your last one, so go backwards, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the chain was our first one, that's 12. Okay. And we're going to slip stitch into that chain, inside that chain right there, and come through. There we go. And that is 12 stitches. And for round 3, we're going to chain 1. That counts as our first one. And we're going to do another stitch in the same space. You can put your stitch marker if you want, just like that. And now for this round, we're going to do 1 in the next, and 2 in the next. Okay, 1 in the next, and 2 in the next. And keep going all the way around like that. Okay, and that's going to give you 18 stitches. And so now you can slip stitch to the chain 1 of your row. So you're going to come in, go all the way through. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch all the way around. So I'm going to go into every stitch and just going to grab a yarn and come through. And just so we don't lose our spot, put in your stitch marker. I always try to do my slip stitches pretty loosely as much as possible. Some people will even change hook sizes just to do the slip stitch round, because it ends up being a little bit tighter for some reason. All right, so I've gone all the way around, and now I have this nice little braid that's at the bottom. That's what you see here. So now from here, we're gonna start to make the edges. And you're going to be working on the flip side like this. So this is a good time to actually sew in this, this string. I'm gonna sew this in. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna chain 1, and work on the side. So we're not going to be going into the braid at the bottom. We're going to be going into the braid on the side. So you're just going to go in underneath those 2 loops, and then you're going to do a single crochet. And in the next 2 loops, you go under those and do a single crochet. Okay, and you're going to keep going around until we have our count, which is 18. You can see that it will start to stand and have a nice little braid at the bottom. And there we go. Now at the very end, we're going to slip stitch into our chain. Our chain counts as the first stitch of the row. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that hole and come through. Great job. Okay, and for the next round, we're gonna just chain 1, which counts as our first stitch, and now we're gonna be doing the knit stitches. We are going to do our knit stitches now into every space. So for the knit stitch, what we do is instead of doing our regular single crochet where you go into the underneath the top 2 loops, you're now just gonna go in between the 2 little legs of your single crochet. Let me see if I can zoom in. So you're gonna go in between the 2 little legs. You're gonna pull up a loop and do a single crochet like normal. It's called the center single crochet. So I'm gonna go in between my 2 little legs, yarn over. Okay, and that's the knit stitch. And we're gonna do that all the way around. Let me put my stitch marker into my chain 1 and let's go all the way around. Okay, and now we've come back to the beginning where I have my chain, and now to do the invisible join, what we're gonna do is instead of just going directly into our chain, we're first gonna go underneath this little loop. So I'm just gonna go underneath the loop and then go into my chain, grab my loop and come all the way through doing a slip stitch. And that takes away the loop that was here, and it's practically invisible. You won't be able to tell where you stopped and finished if you're really good. So this row can be a little bit tighter. Like, let me show you on this basket. Let's see here. So it's just slightly tighter, but if you are conscious about your tension here, you can make it a little looser and you won't even know where you stopped and finished. Okay, so let's keep going. We're gonna chain 1. Make sure your chains are nice and loose. And then we're gonna do our knit stitches. Now you can add as many rows as you want to make your basket taller or shorter. I typically do about 5 rows, depending how thick my t-shirt yarn is. And what's great about these little baskets is that they're so useful, and you can use up a lot of extra yarn you have around in the house. If you're like me, I have loads of t-shirt yarn left over, and you can also make your own t-shirt yarn, which is so fun, from a t-shirt that you have. Let's say you have an old t-shirt and you want to repurpose it. You can cut it up, make some t-shirt yarn, and make a basket from it. And then when people come to your house, you can tell everyone, I made that. That's pretty cool. Okay, and I've come all the way around, and now I've got to do my invisible join. So I'm going to go underneath this loop, and I'm going to go through my chain, yarn over, and come all the way through, like that. And let's do 2 more rows. All right, and I'm doing my last stitch, and now we have the height here. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows total. You can keep going if you want your basket to be just a little bit higher, depending what you put in it. You know, if you're gonna be putting makeup brushes and pencils, then you'll want it to be a little higher. If you put like, I don't know, other random office supplies in here or something like capsules, coffee capsules for your kitchen, it doesn't have to be super tall. Okay, so this row now we're gonna do a slip stitch border. So we're just gonna go underneath both loops and just slip stitch around. Make sure to keep your tension pretty loose on the slip stitches and the chains. Our hands can tend to clamp up a little bit and you'll see a difference in your work. So I always tell people to keep your tension a little loose. Okay, so I've come all the way around, and because I need to make a loop, I'm not gonna do an invisible join here, but that's a whole nother thing for another video. But what I'm gonna do now is make my little loop for my basket. This is also optional. If you don't need a loop, don't make one, but I think it's adorable. So I'm just gonna chain 12. Okay, and that looks good to me, but if you want it to be longer, you know, do what you want to do. And then you're going to find kind of the other side, whatever looks like a good point for you. I think it's this stitch, and I'm just going to stick my hook in there, and then I'm going to slip stitch that in there. So I'm going to just yarn over and come through both of my loops like so. Now what you can do is go ahead and cut your yarn. Always leave a tail so that you have something to sew it in with. So I'm going to cut, and when you cut and tie in your ends, you have to pull through the loop like this. Make sure it's nice and snug, and then you're going to tie that through, sew that through, and take out your tapestry needle. Okay, and just go ahead and sew it through here. Tapestry needle, I should say. I had one student of mine correct me on my English. Tapestry. You get it. And I'm just gonna sew this in here. And when you sew in ends, you're supposed to sew back and forth in several directions, up and down. But that's okay for this video. Cut this off and look at what we made. Look at this. This is really cute. So you know what I do with these? I make these and bring them to my friends as gifts, like little housewarming gifts. Like if I have a friend who invites me over for a coffee, I'll make a little basket and I'll fill it up with like chocolates or something that I know she likes. And then I'll come over with my little basket and I'll give it as a little gift. And I have my friends use these in all kinds of ways. A lot of them use them actually in their bathroom, and they put like, you know, makeup products in them. I have other people who leave them like as decorations. I have another friend who uses it in her kitchen. So this is such a great gift idea, and there's so many uses for it.